When we think about starships in the Star Trek universe, we think about exploration vessels like the USS Enterprise, USS Voyager, and USS Excelsior boldly going into the final frontier to seek out new life and new civilizations, going where no one has gone before. But what about when the frontier pushes back? Well, then you'd need warships. Today, we're looking at the warships of the Star Trek universe. Hello, I'm Captain Jack and welcome to the Hangar Bay. On this channel, we take a deep dive into the best starships, technology, and more from your favourite sci-fi universes. Remember, for the latest videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button. While you're watching, what would you think is a good name for a class of warship in Star Trek? Get commenting your thoughts. One of our first purpose-built fighting ships for Starfleet was the Akira-class. This design ditched the usual saucer secondary hull nacelle design. It bore a strong resemblance to the NX-class starship design with its catamaran-shaped hull. The profile of the Akira was designed to aid its battle presence. As such, the engineering section was tucked under the main saucer, which also has the key component of the deflector dish. Some tactical systems were also installed here. The Akira-class measured at 464.43 meters in length, with a beam of 316.67 meters and a height of 87.43 meters. As it was designed for combat operations, initially against larger threats like the Borg, the Akira was loaded with the most advanced tactical systems Starfleet engineers could offer. These include at least 3 phaser arrays, numerous photon torpedo launchers along a port and starboard sides, and one located around the deflector. Several launchers were also located on the aft weapons pod, which rotated into place before firing. After the disastrous Battle of Wolf 359, in which the Federation Starfleet got its ass kicked, Starfleet needed ships better equipped to protect themselves. As such, the Akira-class design was born. Ships of this class were already in construction at Utopia Planitia fleet yards by 2371. The design proved effective and would quickly become a common fixture of Federation fleet deployments. Even more so, the Akira-class was a vital asset when the Dominion War kicked off, as well as defending against the Borg in 2373 during the Battle of Sector 001. 2 Akira-class vessels would later join 2 Defiant-class escorts, a ship design we will discuss later, to engage 3 Romulan D. X-class warbirds after Tal Shiar agents hijacked the Starfleet Prometheus-class prototype. The Akira-class, in conjunction with the Defiant-class escorts and the Prometheus, successfully destroyed one of the warbirds in the engagement. Known Akira-class ships active in Starfleet included, but were not limited to, the USS Akira, USS Avalon, USS Firesword, USS Helios, USS Rabin, USS Sentinel, USS Thunderchild, and USS Wershing. Starfleet would design the Prometheus-class for deep space tactical assignments. The class was another warship-esque design, given that it was built with some of the most advanced tactical technology that Starfleet had access to. One unique system was installed, which gave the Starship a tactical advantage over other vessels. We'll go over this in a moment. The Prometheus-class measured at 415 meters in length, with a beam of 170 meters and a draft of 113 meters. Typically, the vessel had 13 Type 12 columnated phaser arrays, and 3 Mk95 direct-fire photon torpedo tubes. However, the Prometheus was also designed with unseen levels of automation for Starfleet. Combined with its advanced tactical deployment, it made the Prometheus one of the most powerful combat ships in the Alpha Quadrant. Systems like regenerative shielding and ablative hull armor were also installed. As mentioned earlier, the Prometheus-class features a unique ability known as multi-vector assault mode. This allowed the Starship to split into 3 semi-independent sections. Each section could then deliver massive force against an enemy target. To make this even more unique, each section of the Starship was warp capable, further advancing the source of separation designs of ships like the Galaxy-class. The multi-vector assault mode would be capable of making light work of one of Starfleet's own Nebula-class and a Romulan D. X-class. Another combat-focused vessel design was the Norway-class. A Norway-class came in at a length of 364.77 meters, a width of 225.61 meters, and a height of 52.48 meters. Designated as a medium cruiser, the Norway was fitted with an armament consisting of 6 Type 10 phaser emitters and 2 photon torpedo launchers. A crew complement of 190 officers would typically be stationed on board. The ship also had a warp performance of 9.7 for 12 hours. 3 Norway-class starships took part in the Battle of Sector 001. Only the USS Budapest is named at the Battle of Sector 001. The ship survived the attempted Borg invasion, but what became of it after that is unknown. The Norway-class only appears in First Contact, the movie. However, the ship design appears as an LCARS graphic in Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Star Trek Voyager. You'd think we'd see more of the Norway-class vessels in the Star Trek universe. Originally, the Norway would have been included in the Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode Sacrifice of the Angels, as it was part of a design's ILM handed over to Paramount for use in the 6th season. However, the Norway was never again featured. This may have been due to the model needing a rework for increased on-screen use. Like the Norway-class and the Akira-class, the Sabre was a new design for Starfleet, focusing more on tactics. Ships of this class were constructed to use Horia fleet yards around 2371. The Battle of Sector 001 was the first major deployment for the Sabre-class, and it proved highly successful. As such, more of these ships were produced and deployed in several battles of the Dominion War. Dimensions-wise, the Sabre-class had a length of 364.7 meters, a width of 225.61 meters, and a height of 52.48 meters. Classed as a light cruiser, the Sabre was fitted with 4 Type 10 phaser emitters and 2 photon torpedo launchers. A crew complement would typically consist of 40 officers and crew, which was small compared to other starships of a similar size, perhaps emphasizing the tactical features. Starfleet designed the Defiant-class as a purpose-built warship. When you think of warships in the Star Trek universe, the Defiant-class is likely the first one to come to mind. While officially designated as an escort vessel, the design is also regarded as a battleship. Following the disastrous Starfleet defeat of the Battle of Wolf 359, the Defiant-class began development. Starfleet and the Federation needed a way to defend themselves against threats like the Borg. Initially, the Starship's prototype, the USS Defiant, had numerous design problems. The flaws, plus the decreased urgency of a Borg threat, put the Defiant-class on hold. When the Dominion threat came about in 2371, the Defiant was pulled out of storage and became a valuable asset to Deep Space Nine and Captain Benjamin Sisko in the Dominion War. Eventually, more of these ships were commissioned by Starfleet. At a length of 170 meters, a beam of 134.11 meters, and a height of only 30.1 meters, the Defiant-class was packed with tactical systems, so much so that it almost blew itself apart during the first testing phase. Rather than traditional phaser beams, the Defiant-class made use of phaser cannons as a primary weapon. These were located in forward-facing positions. Looking deeper, they were located above and below the nacelle root attachments on the main hull. The cannons did have a higher damage output compared to standard phasers. Still, the standard phaser beam emitters aboard the Defiant-class vessels served as a secondary supplement to the primary phaser cannon array. Defiant-class vessels had a total of 6 torpedo launchers, 4 forward and 2 aft. While fitted with standard photon torpedoes, Starfleet's new quantum torpedoes were also able to be fired by the Defiant. While it was never really intended, the Starship was also capable of laying mines. The Defiant-class was also equipped with deflector shields. Oh, and the USS Defiant also had a cloaking device, though this wasn't present on other Defiant-class vessels. While not designed to be a warship, Starfleet's Sovereign-class was introduced in the early 2370s as one of the longest and most advanced starship designs in the Federation fleet. Although it's not as big as the Galaxy-class starship, the Sovereign packed much more firepower. The USS Enterprise was a Sovereign-class starship that was launched on stardate 49827.5. At nearly 700 meters in length, the design of the Sovereign-class consisted of 2 hull sections. The first was a saucer-shaped primary hull, followed by the secondary hull, which featured 2 warp nacelles. Several tactical enhancements were present that other starships did not have. These included quantum torpedoes, as well as photon torpedoes, and numerous phaser banks. The Sovereign-class was initially built with 12 phaser arrays at key locations throughout the starship's hull. 7 dorsal phasers were on the primary hull, with 1 extended around the saucer section. 6 small arrays could cover the aft dorsal firing arcs, and were located on the aft portion of the saucer above the vessel's main shuttle bay. 4 ventral phaser arrays were located on the primary hull, extending around in nearly a half circle on both the starboard and port ventral sides of the saucer section. A single phaser array was located along the ventral section of the engineering hull, running perpendicular to the hull. During a refit, 4 were added to the trailing edges of the warp nacelle pylons. 1 dorsal and 1 ventral for each pylon, bringing the phaser array count to 16 as of 2379. Originally, the Sovereign was fitted with 5 torpedo launchers. The primary launcher was located on the ventral portion of the saucer on a turret and was supplemented by 1 twin-tube launcher, forward and aft at the bottom of the secondary hull. By 2379, the refit of the vessel's design had 5 more tubes installed, 3 on the dorsal section and 2 on the secondary hull, which faced aft. The Sovereign-class proved to be an effective assault cruiser for Starfleet. One of the first major engagements the class took part in was the Battle of Sector 001, where the USS Enterprise represented the class. The starship played a crucial role in the destruction of the attacking Borg cube. The Enterprise would prove the durability of a Sovereign-class design when it went up against the Riemann Scimitar Dreadnought in 2379. The early 2370s also saw the introduction of the Steamrunner-class. The class measured 375 meters in length, 270.9 meters in width, and 79.5 meters in height. Designated as a heavy frigate, each ship typically had a complement of 200 officers and crew. Given the battle focus, 4 Type 10 phaser emitters and 2 photon torpedo launchers were installed. Smaller than other ships of the era, the Steamrunner-class featured a near oval-shaped saucer section and a detached secondary hull, not entirely unlike the design employed in the Rebirth-class or the California-class, but was joined at the aft to the ship's nacelles. Much like the Akira-class, the Steamrunner was also created in response to Starfleet's need for much more combat-orientated starships. The Steamrunner-class design was well into production by 2371 at Utopia Planitia Fleet Yards. 6 Steamrunner-class starships took part in the Battle of Sector 001. 5 of these ships remain unidentified during the battle, but we do know that one was the USS Appalachia, NCC 52136. The Steamrunner-class was in service to Starfleet by 2371, and quickly became a common fixture for Federation fleet deployments. The Battle of Sector 001 was one of its first major deployments, and was also deployed in the ongoing Dominion War. Whilst taking part in the battle, the USS Appalachia would survive the engagement. The ship would still be active in Starfleet by the dawn of the 25th century. Multiple Steamrunner-class starships would serve in the Dominion War, especially in pivotal engagements such as Operation Return and the Battle of Cardassia. By 2378, the Steamrunner-class was once again called upon to defend Earth against the Borg, when a Borg sphere suddenly appeared out of a transwarp aperture. By 2399, the Inquiry-class of starship was one of the most tactically capable ships in the Federation fleet. Inquiry-class ships featured the saucer section, engineering section, warp nacelle layout common to most Starfleet vessels. Like other Starfleet vessels, the Inquiry-class was armed with phasers, deflector shields, and torpedoes. The Inquiry-class was around 470 meters in length. Starfleet appears to have created the Inquiry-class en masse to bolster the damaged Federation Starfleet. Of course, multiple Starfleet starship designs have been used in times of war and conflict for the Federation, but not all were purposely designed for combat operations. Yes, both the Excelsior and Miranda-class starships did their duty during the Dominion War, but they were not initially designed for this purpose. Rather, they were updated with new weapons after their introduction. Do you think there is a starship in the Star Trek universe that should be in this video? Another starship worth mentioning is the Ultimate Future Galaxy-class. This is sometimes referred to as the Galaxy X-class, and so far has only been seen in an anti-time future in Star Trek The Next Generation. This future timeline depicts an upgraded USS Enterprise D, which has undergone numerous enhancements. These include a third nacelle, a cloaking device, and a powerful phaser mounted underneath the saucer section. This future starship design was a proven warship, able to take out Klingon battlecruisers with ease. Star Trek Online also featured the Avenger-class battlecruiser. This is another warship design for Starfleet that was created in the 25th century in Star Trek Online's own storyline. While only existing in the game, it is a design that will always stand out. The Starfleet Corps of Engineers designed the Avenger class to compete with smaller, more agile vessels such as Klingon Defense Force battlecruisers. With a heavy armament, the class was designed with an emphasis on war rather than exploration. The lead vessel of the class was the USS Avenger, which launched in 2409. So, that is the warships of Star Trek. Naturally, some other starship designs could fit into the warship designation, but we were mainly looking at the ones that have been designed for the purpose of fighting back and providing the best defense. Which one of the vessels we've talked about today would you rather take into battle? For me, it might have to be the Sovereign class. Comment your thoughts below. To continue the Star Trek adventures here on the Hangar Bay channel, check out the playlist on the end screen. You can also hit the subscribe button for more Starship videos. That's the end of this video. I've been Captain Jack in the Hangar Bay. Remember, if you're talking about science fiction, we want to hear about it.